The distress call came during the night shift, when even the moon felt lonely. Inside listening post Epsilon, the hum of servers filled the silence until it was broken by a voice that wasn't human. Unidentified transmission, reported the station's AI. Its tone was calm, almost bored. Source: Deep Interstellar Sector 73. Content distress. Lieutenant Raj Patel looked up from his console. Define distress. The audio filled the room, a raw, multi-layered cry, somewhere between a scream and a language, then static, then a single shaky image, a skyline collapsing in fire and something black, moving like liquid teeth across the ground. He swallowed. That's not one of ours. By the time Earth Command decrypted the message, 3 other listening posts had confirmed it. It wasn't directed at humanity at all. It was a plea broadcast across 1,000 light-years, coded in every major galactic protocol. A civilization named the Cryans was dying. Humanity, for once, didn't argue about whether to intervene. They argued about how loudly to do it. 2 centuries after first contact, humans had a reputation across the stars: ingenious, erratic, and utterly fearless. Some called them innovators. Most called them monsters. They'd tamed worlds others deemed uninhabitable, weaponized their own immune systems, and once terraformed the planet by accident. So when the Galactic Council turned its collective back on the Cryans, Earth leaned forward. Captain Lyra Okoye had seen too many last stands. The scar down her jaw was from one. She read the mission brief twice before speaking. Humanitarian response, she said flatly, looking over the team assembled in the dauntless ready room. Translation: no conquest, no colonization, no turning their moon into a reactor core this time. Her eyes landed on each face in turn. Understood. A murmur of agreement, mostly. Dr. Mateo Vega, chief engineer and self-proclaimed duct tape philosopher, raised a hand. Just for clarity, if their moon happens to be perfectly shaped for a reactor core, are we at least allowed to consider it? Lyra gave him a look that could bend steel. No. Hypothetically? Still no. Sergeant Kira Tanaka smirked, boot propped against the table. Good call. Vega builds one of those, and next thing you know, the moon's trying to marry him. Raj, seated quietly at the end, pushed his glasses up his nose and said, "Perhaps we could save the jokes until after we decide how to not die?" The room went still. Then, as if on cue, Vega grinned. "That's optimism, Raj. I like it." Lyra exhaled slowly. "All right, here's what we know. The Cryans are under attack by something called the Carthel. Biomechanical, self-replicating, and expanding exponentially. The signal we intercepted wasn't a call for alliance. It was a scream. Anyone else responding?" Raj asked. "Negative. The Council's classified it as a planetary containment event." "Containment," Kira repeated. "Fancy word for abandonment." Lyra nodded. "Which makes us the only ones stupid enough to go." "Or brave enough," Raj said softly. Vega snorted. "Around here, same thing." The Dauntless left orbit 3 days later, gleaming against the dark. Built from the hull of a decommissioned dreadnought and the optimism of 5 different nations, it wasn't the newest ship in the fleet, but it had character. As FTL engines roared to life, Raj found himself at the observation deck, staring at Earth shrinking into a pale blue marble. Kira appeared beside him, hands tucked into her flight jacket. "First time leaving the solar system?" He shook his head. "Third. First time leaving to answer a prayer." She smiled faintly. "You ever notice how we're always the ones answering those? Maybe because we remember what it's like to send them." Their silence said more than words. Midway through the journey, the crew gathered for briefing. Vega projected a holographic map above the table, an elegant spiral of data streams, coordinates, and probability metrics. "Based on trajectory, decay, and burst frequency," he explained, "the Cryon signal originated here." He pointed to a scarred region of space beyond the Council's patrol lines. "Binary system, single inhabited planet. We're calling it Cryra Prime. Our FTL window's narrow. Too much dark matter interference. If we miss it, we drift." "Define drift," Kira said. "Imagine being lost forever in a cosmic washing machine." "Comforting," she said. Lyra folded her arms. We've handled worse. Vega nodded. Sure, but just in case, I recommend everyone double-check their will. Kira raised an eyebrow. You even have a will? Of course. It just says don't touch my tools. Raj allowed himself a small smile. The levity was artificial, but necessary. Humans laugh when afraid. It was their most dangerous trait. When the Dauntless finally broke through FTL, the bridge fell silent. Before them, the stars burned cold and bright over a fractured world. Cryora Prime hung in the void, one hemisphere smothered in smoke. Cities glowed faintly beneath spreading shadows that moved, an ocean of motion, like insects crawling across the skin of a dying planet. Vega whispered, Mother of God. Sensors pinged continuously, detecting metallic signatures and fluctuating biothermal readings. The swarm stretched for continents. Lyra's voice was calm, almost too calm. Put us in geostationary orbit. Raj, open a channel. Raj hesitated. We're broadcasting in 87 linguistic forms. If they're still alive, they'll hear us. Static filled the bridge. Then, a faint, trembling voice. You are not a collective. Raj leaned closer to the console. No, we're from Earth. We heard your signal. Earth, the voice repeated, as if testing the word. The death world. Kira glanced at Lyra. Friendly start. The voice grew clearer. Help us. The Carthel consume. They learn. They do not stop. We're coming, Lyra said. Hold on. A pause. Then a whisper, half disbelief, half relief. Monsters of Earth, heard us. Hours later, the crew prepared for descent. Vega checked weapon calibrations while muttering equations under his breath. Kira strapped into the drop shuttle, grinning like someone who'd already accepted chaos as destiny. Raj watched from the hatch, voice low. We don't even know if we can save them. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. We don't go to save. We go so they don't die alone. The engines flared to life. As the shuttle plunged toward the burning planet, Vega's voice crackled over comms. Captain, in case we don't make it, any last words of inspiration? Lyra's eyes stayed on the horizon, where fire met sky. Yes, she said. Remember, we're the good guys this time. Kira laughed. That's debatable. Then let's prove it. The shuttle vanished into storm below, leaving only a fading trail of light, and a single thought echoing in every heart aboard the Dauntless. If the universe was crying for mercy, then the descent through Cryora's atmosphere was a scream of heat and gravity. The shuttle shuddered under turbulence as lightning flickered across the stained clouds. The air outside was thick with soot, a planet choking on its own death. Inside, Captain Lyra Okoye gripped the armrest, voice steady through the comms. Touchdown zone marked. Minimal visibility. Kira, eyes open. Vega, keep us from exploding. Dr. Mateo Vega's hands danced over controls. Define exploding. Kira to knock a grin, without looking up from her targeting display. It's that thing we do when Vega's confidence drops below 30%. I'm at 35, Vega said dryly. So we're fine. Raj Patel, strapped into the back seat, muttered a prayer in Hindi. Not for safety, but for clarity. The noise of descent faded just enough for him to hear the planet's silence underneath, a silence that felt unnatural. The shuttle broke through the smoke layer, and the city came into view. A lattice of crumbling towers and molten streets, its once glass spires now skeletal. The swarm moved below, hundreds of thousands of Carthel constructs, silver-black and insectal, flowing like mercury through ruins. Lyra's throat tightened. Target landing zone? North quadrant, Kira said. Only area not actively on fire or trying to eat itself. The shuttle hit the ground hard. Metal groaned. The ramp hissed open. Heat poured in. The cryorans were smaller than expected. Avian reptilians with scale wings that no longer functioned, feathers dulled to ash. They met the humans with hollow eyes, suspicion, and fear tangled in the same gaze. Their leader, a tall figure whose crest had been burned down to bone, stepped forward. His translator implant crackled weakly. You are humans. Captain Lyra Okoye, she said. helmet off to show her face. "We received your distress call." The alien's gaze lingered on the blackened earth patch sewn on her sleeve. "You came, even when others did not." Lyra inclined her head. "We tend to show up where we're not invited." The alien blinked, not sure if that was humor. "We have little left to offer." "Then don't waste time offering. Show us where it hurts most." The survivors led them through the ruins to what had once been a research hub, now a barricade of shattered glass and scorched walls. The air smelled of ozone and decay. Dr. Vega crouched beside a gutted generator, eyes gleaming with curiosity. "Their tech is biosynthetic. It heals itself. I could probably—" "Don't," Kira interrupted. "Last time you said that, you welded your hand to a drone. It was for science." "It was for stupidity." Raj ignored their bickering, studying the alien markings on the wall. Spirals denoting lineage, mathematical poetry. "They're not just engineers," he murmured. "They're artists. Everything they built has meaning." Lyra's reply was curt. "Let's make sure something still does." Night fell like a curtain. The Carthel came with it. The first sound was a clicking vibration, like glass breaking underwater. Then the horizon shifted, thousands of gleaming bodies surging forward in synchronized motion. "Positions." Lyra barked. Kira mounted a pulse rifle onto a parapet. Vega activated the energy shield generator, half broken, humming uncertainly. Raj stood behind a line of Cryer defenders, relaying commands in their language. The swarm hit like a wave, the air filled with the stench of metal and acid. Bolts of plasma streaked the sky. Kira's laughter cut through the chaos. "Now this feels like home." "Focus." Lyra snapped. Fire and control bursts. "We're not decorating the place." Vega ducked sparks as a drone exploded nearby. "Shields are fluctuating. I can stabilize, but we'll lose power to comms." "Do it," Lyra said. "We'll shout if we need to talk." The Cryans fought bravely but erratically, their discipline shattered by years of running. The humans, by contrast, fought like improvisational jazz, fluid, chaotic, efficient. They turned rubble into traps, debris into cover, and despair into momentum. When the swarm breached the first line, Kira vaulted over the barricade, blade in hand. She moved like kinetic defiance, slashing, ducking, and hurling explosives with reckless precision. One Cryan soldier stared in disbelief. "She's smiling." Raja's voice, calm amidst the noise. "That's how our kind shows fear." By dawn, the ground was littered with inert fragments of the Carthel. The survivors stood trembling, exhausted but alive. Lyra surveyed the field. "Status." "Alive," Vega said, wiping grime from his face. "Mostly. My right eyebrow didn't make it." Kira nudged the dead drone with her boot. These things learn fast. They were adapting mid-fight. Vega crouched beside the wreckage, analyzing the black fluid seeping from its joints. They're biomechanical, self-replicating code merged with organic matrices. That's why they evolve. They steal genetic and digital data. Raj frowned. "So the more they fight, the smarter they get." "Exactly." Lyra folded her arms. "And if we give them long enough, they'll learn how to beat us." Kira flashed a grim smile. "Good thing we don't do long fights." Later, in the gutted control room, the crier and leader returned, his voice hoarse but steady. "You have saved a fraction of us. But they will come again. They always come." Lyra nodded. "Then we'll stop them at the source." "Where are they coming from?" The alien hesitated. "The Carthel were born here, created by our own hands, a weapon to defend us, until it decided we were the enemy." A quiet settled over the humans. Vega sighed. "Every civilization gets that bright idea eventually." Raj leaned forward. "Can we access your research archives? We might find a way to counter their control network." The Cryeran's eyes narrowed. "You believe you can end what we could not." Lyra met his gaze without flinching. "We don't believe. We try." That night, as the humans scavenged power cells and refitted broken drones, Vega rigged a portable generator from scrap and Cryeran biotech. It glowed faintly green, alive and humming. Kira watched it pulse. "You sure that thing's not sentient?" "If it is," Vega said, I'll apologize to it later. Raj joined them, clutching a data pad full of alien symbols. I think I found something in their archives, a central node coordinating swarm behavior. If we could reach it, we could shut them down, Lyra finished. Or blow ourselves up, Kira added. Lyra's mouth curved into a thin smile. Either way, the galaxy will notice. The team exchanged glances, tired, bruised, but alight with that uniquely human spark that burned brightest in catastrophe. Vega muttered, almost to himself, "They called us monsters." Raj replied, "Perhaps that's what mercy looks like to those who've forgotten it." Outside, the wind howled through the ruins, carrying ash and promise. The Cryarans huddled under makeshift shelters, whispering in disbelief that anyone, let alone humans, had come to stand with them. Above, the Dauntless orbited silently, a solitary beacon against the void. In the command tent, Lyra stared at the holographic map of Cryara. The swarm was growing again, spreading toward their location. Time was vanishing. She keyed her comm team, "Get some rest. Tomorrow we stop running." "From the swarm?" Vega asked. Lyra shook her head. "From our own hesitation." Kira's voice came through, sharp and amused. "So another normal day?" Lyra smiled faintly. "Exactly." Outside, the sky flared with distant fire as the swarm regrouped. The monsters of Earth had landed, and the universe dawn broke pale and red over the ruins of Cryara Prime, a light too weak to feel like hope. The humans had survived the night, but survival wasn't victory. It was a delay. Captain Lyra Okoye stood on the edge of a collapsed balcony, surveying the blackened valley below. The Carthel swarm had retreated with the sunrise, but she knew better than to mistake retreat for defeat. They were learning, waiting. Behind her, the rhythmic clang of tools echoed through the compound. Humanity was doing what it did best, turning wreckage into opportunity. Dr. Mateo Vega crouched over a Cryer energy core, coaxing it open with the tenderness of a surgeon and profanity of an engineer. "If I can merge this biocircuit with our phase stabilizer, we might get a clean energy loop," he said, sweat dripping from his temple. Kira Tanaka leaned against a wall, arms crossed, chewing on a strip of dried protein. "You said that about the coffee machine yesterday. It exploded." "That was a controlled explosion." Raj Patel looked up from the console. He was reprogramming. "Controlled implies you expected the roof to catch fire." "I did," Vega said, not looking up. "Just not that quickly." Lyra entered, the weight of exhaustion hidden behind her sharp posture. "How long until we have something that can keep us alive?" Vega grinned crookedly. "Define alive." Kira muttered, "You keep saying it like it's funny." Lyra ignored the banner. "We don't have time for experiments. The swarm's rebuilding faster than we are. Then we stop rebuilding," Vega said, voice shifting serious. "We evolve." Hours later, their makeshift lab looked like a scrapyard, and a miracle had a child. Human tech fused with cryo and biotech, metal intertwined with living fiber, wires pulsing faintly with borrowed blood. Raj watched the process with quiet awe. "We're crossing boundaries even the Cryarans feared. Are we sure this is wise?" "No," Vega said cheerfully. "But it's interesting." Lyra's tone was colder. "We're beyond wisdom. We need results." Kira tested one of the hybrid drones Vega had assembled from scavenged swarm parts. It buzzed uncertainly, glowing a dim blue before hovering at shoulder height. Vega beamed. "Meet Steve 2. "What happened to Steve 1? Raj asked. "He learned how to explode creatively." Steve 2 wobbled in midair, beeped twice, then zipped out through a hole in the roof. Kira blinked. "Did you program it to leave?" "No," Vega admitted, "but I admire the initiative." For 3 days, the humans and Cryarans worked together. The aliens, still fearful but inspired, began to mimic human improvisation, using scrap metal to patch wounds, turning broken machinery into weapons. Lyra walked among them, offering few words but steady eyes. Leadership wasn't about speeches. It was about making people believe that chaos had a plan. Raj, meanwhile, spent hours decoding Cryan archives, tracing the origin of the Carthel. "They weren't just weapons," he explained during a briefing. They were built to learn empathy through mimicry, designed to understand threat, so they could prevent it. Kira frowned, and instead, they decided everyone was a threat. Exactly. The code's logic looped on self-preservation. They're protecting the concept of survival itself, even from their creators. Vega leaned over the holographic projection of the swarm network. Then we don't fight them, we infect them, feed them bad data. Raj raised an eyebrow. You want to hack a self-replicating biodigital hive? Vega grinned. Yes, and I've already started. Lyra folded her arms. Explain. Vega gestured at the flickering hologram. If we introduce a countersignal into their neural lattice, we can rewrite their control hierarchy. It won't destroy them. It'll reprogram them to dismantle themselves. Kira tilted her head. That sounds suicidal. Only if it doesn't work. The plan required precision bordering on insanity. The countersignal needed to be transmitted from within the swarm's central hive, a structure pulsing deep in the equatorial wasteland, surrounded by millions of drones. Lyra didn't hesitate. We'll take a strike team. Kira grinned. Finally, something fun. Raj's voice was quieter. We don't even know what the hive looks like. Vega smiled faintly. We'll figure out when we get there. Lyra gave him a sidelong look. That's not a plan. It's a human plan, Vega replied. That night, the crew gathered around a flickering campfire, a human tradition the Cryarans watched in silent fascination. Sparks drifted into the cold wind, the smoke rising through a ceiling of broken stars. Kira poked the embers with a metal rod. We really are insane, aren't we? Raj smiled faintly. Insanity and adaptability are the same word in half the galaxy's languages. Lyra didn't laugh. Let's hope they're synonyms for victory. Vega handed her a cracked datapad. Here's our delivery system. Once we reach the hive, we connect this to its primary node. The signal will cascade through their network in seconds. And what happens to us? Raj asked. Vega hesitated. If the feedback doesn't fry us, the swarm probably will. Kira shrugged. So business as usual. Lyra looked around the circle. For humans, a few Cryaran soldiers, and a planet on the edge of erasure. Somehow it felt enough. The following morning, the team began preparations. The Cryarans fortified what remained the city as a diversion, while Vega and Kira modified the shuttle for low-atmosphere stealth. The craft looked more patchwork than machine, armored in scavenge plates and reflective paint. Lyra briefed the Cryaran leader before departure. If we fail, you evacuate to orbit. The Dauntless will take who it can. The alien bowed. You have already done more than we believed possible. If there is mercy in the stars, perhaps it speaks your language. Lyra's response was simple. Mercy speaks through action. An hour before launch, Raj stood on a cracked rooftop, watching the sun rise through ash. Kira joined him, tossing a ration bar his way. You always watch the sky, she said. It helps me remember what we're fighting for. She smirked. I fight so Vega doesn't get himself killed. He fights so you don't get bored. Kira laughed softly. And Lyra? She fights because she doesn't know how to stop. They shared a silence thick with unspoken truth. Finally, Raj asked, Do you ever think we're the real monsters they fear? Kira looked out at the burning horizon. Only when we're winning. By midday, the Dauntless engines roared overhead, providing cover fire as a shuttle, now nicknamed Patchwork Angel, lifted from the ruins. Inside, the crew strapped in, weapons armed, eyes sharp. Vega's voice carried over the intercom. Once we cross the wasteland, no more comms. The swarm will jam everything. We go in quiet, we come out legends. Lyra smirked. Or not at all. Either way, Kira said, make it loud enough to be remembered. Raj adjusted the data drive, holding Vega's countersignal. Fingers trembling slightly. If this works, the swarm ends itself. And if it doesn't? Lyra asked. He smiled, almost serene. Then we'll teach it what humans call defiance. The shuttle banked toward the horizon, vanishing into the storm. Below, the Cryarans watched the sky and whispered a phrase that would one day spread across the stars. The monsters of Earth are moving. The patchwork angel skimmed over a wasteland of iron and fire. Below, the Carthel hive spread like a living scar, towers of black chitin and circuitry pulsing in rhythm with the planet's dying heart. Each structure shifted subtly, breathing in waves. Captain Lyra Okoye stared through the viewport, jaw set. "That's not a base," she murmured. "That's an organism." Dr. Mateo Vega adjusted the readouts, his voice tight. "It's absorbing ambient heat, converting it into neural energy. We're flying over a planet-sized brain." Sergeant Kira Tanaka grinned faintly. "Good. Let's lobotomize it." Raj Patel looked up from his console, his tone gentle but firm. "We only get one chance. The counter signal has to connect to the hive's primary core. Miss and it adapts instantly." "Then we won't miss," Lyra said. "No pressure." The ship descended through a haze of black dust. Distant shapes twitched on the horizon, drone clusters assembling like ants sensing intrusion. "Vega," Kira said, "tell me you brought something explosive." "I brought everything explosive." The landing was brutal. The ground flexed beneath them like muscle, and the air reeked of acid and ozone. Kira led the team out, rifle raised, the others following into the hive's shadow. The structure loomed above them, impossibly tall, its surface slick with shifting patterns that looked disturbingly organic. Veins of glowing circuitry pulsed faintly beneath its skin. Lyra activated her comm. "Dauntless, we're on site. Prepare for orbital interference on my mark." Static answered. The swarm's jamming field was already active. They were alone. Raj tapped his data slate, reading fluctuations in the hive's frequency. It's communicating with itself, thousands of voices layered together. It's thinking. "Then don't give it time to finish the thought," Kira said, stepping forward. Vega deployed 2 hybrid drones, modified Cryon Sentinels wired with human ingenuity and recklessness. "Steve 3 and Steve 4, he announced. "Try not to die in vain." The drones zipped ahead, mapping the interior tunnel. Inside, the walls glowed faintly, vibrating like a heartbeat. The deeper they went, the louder the pulse grew, as if the planet itself were warning them to turn back. Halfway to the core, the swarm struck. Dozens of drones burst from the walls, their carapaces gleaming with mirrored armor. Kira's rifle sang, plasma bolts cutting arcs through the dark. Vega hurled an EMP charge that detonated in a flash of blue, frying a cluster midair. Raj ducked behind a fallen support beam, clutching the counter-signal drive. "We're outnumbered," Lyra replied without hesitation. "Then we improvise." She shot a support column. The collapsing ceiling crushed a wave of drones. Kira hooped. "That's what I call interior decorating." Vega laughed breathlessly as he fired another blast. "You're insane." "Adaptable," Kira corrected. The surviving drones withdrew, leaving silence heavy as stone. Raj caught his breath. "They're analyzing us." "Let them," Lyra said. "We'll give them something worth studying." They reached the central chamber, a cavern vast enough to swallow the dauntless whole. In its center hung the hive's heart, a sphere of intertwined tendrils and machinery, glowing with violent light. Each pulse shook the air. Raj's voice was reverent. "That's it, their neural nexus. Every Carthel unit is an echo of that mind." Vega stepped forward, setting the counter-signal device into place. "If I sync the phase modulation, the feedback should cascade to the swarm's hive net." "Should," Kira said. Vega grinned faintly. "Confidence is for people who read manuals." Lyra stood guard, eyes scanning the perimeter. The hive seemed to watch them back, its surface rippling as if curious. Then came the voice, deep, layered, mechanical, and mournful all at once. "Why do you resist? We protect life. We preserve continuity." Raj froze. "It's speaking directly through neural resonance. It knows we're here." Lyra answered the voice coldly. "You're not preserving life. You're consuming it." "Consumption is preservation," the hive replied. "You fight extinction with extinction. You are us." Kira smirked. "You wish." The floor trembled. The walls opened like a wound, and from the fissures emerged the largest Carthel construct yet, a monstrous amalgam of metal and sinew, its form humanoid, its face a warped mirror of Lyra's own. Raj whispered, horrified, "It's mimicking you." "Good," Lyra said, raising her weapon. It chose the wrong role model. The creature charged. The impact threw Kira's side, cracked armor ringing. Vega grabbed a fallen beam, jammed it into the creature's joints, and fired a plasma charge point blank. The explosion tore a chunk of its shoulder, but the wound healed in seconds. "It's adapting," Vega shouted. Raj shouted over the roar, "Lyra, the counter signal. Now or never." Lyra sprinted toward the heart, dodging tendrils lashing from the floor. "Cover me." Kira fired until her rifle overheated. Vega hurled his last EMP grenade. Raj joined her, throwing improvised flares to blind the creature's sensors. Lyra reached the core. The heat seared her skin through the suit, but she forced the device into the pulsating mass and slammed the activation panel. A blinding light filled the chamber. The hive screamed, not in pain, but in disbelief. Its voice fractured into chaos. "We are life." "Not anymore," Lyra whispered. The light expanded outward in a cascading ripple. Drones across the planet froze mid-flight, their eyes dimming. The heartbeat of the world stuttered, then fell silent. When the light faded, only smoke remained. The great hive lay still, its once living walls now cold glass. Vega lay sprawled on the floor, coughing. "Remind me to patent that." Kira limped over, grinning despite the blood on her cheek. "You can't patent genocide document." Raj knelt near the core, scanning the data. It worked. The entire network collapsed within seconds. "They're gone." Lyra didn't answer. She stood in the center of the silent chamber, staring at a reflection in the dead metal. "No," she said quietly. "Not gone. We just taught them what surrender looks like." Outside, to the fractured roof, dawn returned, a cleaner light this time. Hours later, the dauntless recovery teams descended. Crier and survivors emerged from hiding, eyes wide with disbelief. Their leader approached Lyra and bowed deeply. "You have done what we could not. The Carthalar ended." Lyra's reply was soft. "Ended, or waiting to begin again." Raj handed her a datapad. I recorded the transmission. The counter signal rewrote their final protocol. It's broadcasting a message across the void. "What kind of message?" Vega asked. Raj read the translation aloud. "A warning. The monsters of Earth have answered." The words hung heavy in the air. Kira looked to the horizon. "Think anyone's listening?" Lyra holstered her weapon. "They always are." That night, under a quiet sky, the crew gathered by the landing zone. The Cryerans were rebuilding in the distance, singing low, mournful songs that somehow sounded like gratitude. Vega worked on a damaged drone, trying to coax it back to life. Kira watched with a smirk. "Can you leave anything dead?" "Just trying to understand what made it tick," he said. "You never know when knowing how to break a monster might save you from becoming one." Raj smiled faintly. "Poetic, Doctor." Lyra looked up at the stars, her voice steady. "We came because someone asked for mercy. But mercy isn't kindness, it's endurance. The willingness to face horror and still try to do what's right." Kira chuckled.